Hello everyone, DonTheCrown here, and as you might be able to tell, we've re-rolled off of Mind Control. I wasn't really having too much fun with it. It felt very pain in the butt to play, I guess you could say. The range of Mind Control was pretty bad. The kind of like scaling that we were doing with lots of blessings felt pretty bad as well. And just in general, I wasn't really having a great time. And so we've switched over here to what's called Split Shot. Split Shot, a couple seasons ago, got this new support here called Rapid Advance. And this allows you to play it as a spin to win, spin to shoot type of build, which is pretty cool. And you get additional damage for the supported skill for every additional max channel stacks up to 15. So this scales pretty well with channel stacks. We also do get additional attack speed for the supported skill. We lose damage and we lose a little bit of movement speed, but that's pretty much okay. It starts off with max channel stacks of 5, so we're looking to get all the way up to 20 if we really want to max this out. We compare this with Diversion, which makes it so that we shoot 5 more projectiles, and we have additional damage. This gives us pretty good spread, and it will now aim at different targets in front of you. So it just kind of shoots all over the place. Then when there's enemies nearby, it's going to shoot like more at those particular enemies, which is pretty nice. Now, we went through and I made a list here of all of the stuff that you kind of want to prioritize here. I'm going to kind of go over it real quick. So the first thing you're going to need, obviously, are these split shot supports. And then the next thing you need is a bow or a crossbow. A bow or crossbow doesn't really matter. You can use them on both. You can use firearms or cannons with split shot. However, our main skill that we want to use for movement here, when we're trying to do a lot of damage, is centralized loading. However, if we want to go fast, link arrow is really the way to go, and this is bows and crossbows only. This used to be really bad where you'd have to aim opposite of the direction you want to travel. However, now it just goes in the direction of your mouse, and so this makes it a very fast movement skill, as you can see here. And we can set up the channel to immediately start attacking the second we let go of our movement skill, which is pretty good. You do that by going to battle, then you just scroll down to auto channel, and it'll set you up pretty stinking easy. And so this is a very fast killing, very fast moving. When I first switched over to this, it was probably about 5 billion DPS, and we were clearing 8 zeros faster than Mind Control, which was, pretty silly. Now, after that, we have a whole bunch of different gear we can kind of go over here. Blind Vision is a pretty good hat here. We're doing projectile speed. This also applied to projectile damage, and this works really well with our tree that we're going, with Marksman here. We're picking up Gale. Now, if you are first starting off with the build, you might not be able to go Goddess of Hunting and Marksman, which we'll talk about here shortly, but actually we'll talk about right now. That's because you need to have 100% chance to do Deterioration, and if you don't have the ability to get like tier 1 gear right off the bat, you're probably going to want to go the Goddess of Deception here and pick up Mixture and pretty much go into a Shadow Master here and pick up more Deterioration stuff in here as well. And I believe that there's like quite a bit of like Deterioration damage and Deterioration chance. And I'm pretty sure this is going to give you over 100% chance with just the passive trees. Then as you get better gear, you can switch out into Goddess of Hunting, which is going to give us some really great stuff here. Perception, for example, it's going to make it so we gain Agility Blessing on hit. And this just happens like all the time, every time we hit. And so we are spamming out our Desecration on targets, even like normal monsters and stuff, which really makes the build feel a lot smoother. I really probably wouldn't want to play without Perception. And then things like Gale scales our projectile speed tremendously. If you don't have this because you're the Deception tree, this might be something you definitely want on Slate. Stuff like 3 birds, 1 stone is kind of okay as well. And then we're going to be going Elementalist because we want more damage for stacking channels. And then Peculiar Vibe is pretty easy to get this because we have 50% chance to apply elemental ailments. We attack a whole bunch, 25% additional damage here. And then we just take this 1 point right here. And this gives us fire, lightning, and cold, which means that we have lightning numbed, we have cold, and we'll be able to eventually, just apply those debuffs. So we don't really need to worry about anything else at that point. But it's, pretty darn good. And so I would say that Blind Vision here works really well with the Gale. And so that's kind of important to keep out. Next up, let's talk about Blight. Blight is a new body armor here about Deterioration. And I do not have the best corruption here, but that is because it is way more expensive. but this gives you max life and energy shield. Attack speed gives you additional deterioration damage taken per stack of deterioration the enemy has. This goes up to 8 times. So 16 times 8 is 128% more damage. If you don't know, deterioration is basically like maybe kind of like Impale from PoE, where you hit the enemy and you leave behind this stack of deterioration and it explodes for damage. About 60% of the hit damage. That is erosion after the fact. And so we basically turn that up from 60% to way higher. And this gets corrupted. It goes 25% additional deterioration damage up to 8 stacks. So that's basically tripling that. So we're doing 180% of the initial hit, which is pretty darn good. Also, that is multiplied by things like deterioration damage. I think it's like one of the only other multipliers that affects deterioration. I don't believe generic hits and stuff like that, or generic like damage, will scale that. And so having more deterioration damage is pretty darn good. Then you're probably going to want to either pick up Stray Bird's Return. This is pretty silly because what it does is when you shoot a projectile, they come back to you now, and that includes all of the projectiles from our split shot, which looks really crazy, or you can do Hand of Malice. I've been kind of testing between both of these. Kind of seems to be somewhat close. Maybe the Hand of Malice might be a little bit better for some things, but the Stray Bird's Return is also pretty darn nice. And then Candles and Belt with like +1 channeling, I think is pretty easy to get going. Now let's talk about the bow right off the bat. If you are not going to start off with like a full tier 1 bow, or even going for like a priceless bow, you are probably just going to want to pick up this unique, or this legendary right here, Mountain Howling. And this is going to set you back basically no FE at all, because this is a 2 FE bow. This is super duper powerful, probably a little bit underrated, but if we look kind of like at the DPS here, we have 662 DPS. I have like a, starting to get ultimate bow here, so 662. But like if you compare this to the bow that I used before, 775 for this, that's pretty darn close. And then on top of that, this bow has a huge multiplier, up to 120% additional attack damage when no enemies are nearby. Now you might be like, that's gonna be kind of hard to keep track of. Well, luckily, we just come with our own built-in nearby checker. So you can go here and click this and go nearby areas. You'll notice that that nearby area is the same size practically of our little Thea ring for our desecration trait. So just don't stand inside of that range and you'll be good to go. And yeah, I swapped out this bow for Mountain Howling. I was able to clear we're kind of like slowly going through Profound now. I was able to clear Profound with this as well. Felt pretty good. We were able to kill bosses and stuff with it. And the additional knockback chance here really kind of helps you stay safe, kind of. It's a pretty like OP bow, so I'd recommend picking this up. Then after that, we're pretty much looking for projectile speed freaking everywhere. So stuff like on memories is pretty good. You have to remember that we're scaling it both from our hat and from our passives, so that's pretty good. Next thing, we have Valorie's Nightmarestrol. This is something I'm still kind of working on getting into the build. Right now, it's pretty difficult to make this work. However, this is going to be something that is going to be very, very easy to work later on. And the way that I'm getting blur is we have blur on kill on one of my slates here. Just happen to get lucky, 100% chance to get blur and defeat, which is just very, very nice. Note that I also have deterioration chance on several of my slates here to help me get the 100%. And oh, this is one of the things I forgot. This is mandatory for the build. You must have this for the build. You must have 100% fizz converted to erosion damage. You can either get this on passives from, I think, Shadow Master, or you have to get it from slates. If you do not have this, you will do almost no damage because deterioration is only erosion damage and you won't be doing any erosion damage. So definitely go and get that. We didn't really talk about the other bow. If you're going to do like a tier 1 bow, it's probably flat erosion, flat fizz, gear fizz, fizz erosion, and attack speed. And like the fizz gets converted over here, which is pretty darn nice. Next up, I would also start moving into other tier 1 stuff. So you can get deterioration chance on belt, you get it on amulet, you get it on ring. All of that is really, really good. And then you start moving into stuff like getting like your dreams crafts set up. Like I'm looking to get curse on hit on a ring eventually. This is not a precise ring or priceless ring, so I'm not really going to roll it a whole bunch. And like things like tier 0 bow. Now, there are a lot of options on bows and crossbows that you could look for. Elemental resistance and armor penetration. I think both of these are very underpriced at the moment. Compare that to like focus blessing, and you'll kind of see that these are very, very expensive. Let's go look real quick. So first things first, when you're looking for a weapon, highly recommend that you need to do the following thing. There is the very thing at the top, Godseeker Longbow, and then there's the second one. The second one right now is always the best. We see 190 physical damage, 220 physical damage. So you need to click the second one so you only see these bows. Otherwise, you're going to be wasting your money. Do not craft on the wrong base. It's like a 20, I think a 30% damage loss. So we see like Focus Blessing here is like a, 3000 FE. These are all like, mirror tier stuff here as well. And then if we go instead, we do penetration, elemental resistance, we can see, very stinking cheap bows here. Like you go pick this up, this would be, perfectly fine. This would probably be fine. All of these ones here, they have scales as well. So like they, aren't just one flat number. Armor damage mitigation here is also pretty solid. Enemies think are going to have about 30% armor mitigation against us. So cutting that down does increase our damage as well. And so these are pretty good, especially for like a starter bow. You don't need like the absolute perfect stuff here. And then also note, you can just buy crossbows instead. And so we go here, we go over here and pick up a crossbow. And if we like still wanted to go like Focus Blessing, if you remember that was like 3000 FE on the other side here. I have no idea what it's going to be like now, but we can see it's a lot cheaper with a crossbow. And I believe the big reason for this is because the fact that bows are being used by the Sentry build right now and crossbows are not. And so crossbows are just a little bit cheaper. So definitely keep an eye out for that. Then for skills here, we're using Split Shot. Guard helps us, be guarded. Quick Decision just gives us more damage from attacking. Frost Shield is very nice here for giving us some defenses. I'm doing Added Erosion to try and add some wilt chance in there so get some blur. But you know how it is. Blink Bow for movement. And then we're doing double Curse. I have the Curse pet. And so if you do not have the Curse pet, you can drop Timid and you can instead go and use Fixate. Or you can use Archery Bond or Aim. Like you can really just like get rid of anything you want there. It'd be pretty good. These curses do have pretty nice big aura with a Terrain of Malice, which I think is very useful there. So we could go potentially and drop this. Do AoE. We can see that the AoE for the curses are pretty darn big. Ideally, I want to get better automation tools for this, but it's kind of expensive for right now. My auras are Precise Projectiles and Erosion Enhancement. I believe I do have a slate that is giving me the ability to paralyze. And if you don't have that, you can choose Precise Weapon Amplification instead, which gives you a little bit less damage, but it's going to give you the chance to apply paralysis, which is very good. And then I also put Swiftness on here. And if you are looking to squeeze a little bit more damage, you can put Acuteness Imbue, Seal Conversion, Restrain, and Imbue buff. So this gives you 13% additional physical damage. And then this bumps it up another 6% or so, 7% maybe. So like 20% more damage. It's kind of nice. If you don't want to do this, you can just literally not run it and it'll be fine too. Like you do recover your life and mana pretty darn fast, because in our tree that I'm going to share with you, we basically have a lot of recovery, which just makes you do a lot of recovery real fast. Let's just go show you guys a map real quick. Let's just go 8-1. We were basically farming 8-1 for a few hours today and made a whole bunch of money. And so let's just pop it in. I'll just remove some of these compasses from earlier today. And pretty much the thing just starts spinning right away. And you can just, kind of run at the enemies. And it's just kind of pretty nice. Now, if you were using instead Mountain Howling here, one of the things to note is like you just push enemies away, which makes it a lot safer. Like one of the things I noticed is that like when we were running this on Profound, that enemies would run at me, but they wouldn't be able to get to me, which is, I think, like half of a major defensive layer, basically. Just not being able to be hit by enemies is pretty darn big. And we can see here that like we're killing enemies that are like super far off the screen compared to Molten Strike to Mind Control. And yeah, this just makes the quality of life just feel so much better, especially because we're applying Deterioration super fast. You can trigger it every 0.3 seconds, and we are triggering it every 0.3 seconds because we get a blessing on hit, and that just means that we stack up the Deterioration super fast, even when we are not hitting elites. And that is like one of the biggest problems right now with Thea 3, is that when you are stacking all the blessings and really stacking up your desecration, it is basically making white monsters feel like they're the boss of the map. The way that desecration kind of works is that only one enemy is going to be affected by it at a time, and you kind of just hope that you blow up enemies in a big pack with the circle. And if you don't, the enemies feel really tanky. But with this, you aren't really focusing too much on desecration, so it does help with the tankier enemies, but you're not like left holding the bag here when you are fighting normal enemies, which was like just really frustrating. Big reason why I just quit Mind Control was because I felt like I was non-stop just getting destroyed by normal monsters. And yeah, I don't like to play that way. I like to actually kill everything, which feels pretty good. I'll be keeping this build updated as we move forward, and just pretty excited. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Hope this video helped. Let me know if there's anything I missed in the comments down below. Come by the stream. I'll be live. We'll see you soon.